Being human is the oldest occupation that there is, and no better way to express our humanity and Africanness than by caring for those who are not as privileged as we are. My guest today has helped over 4,500 streets and other children, helping them use creativity and quality education, build a better life for themselves. She is joining me via Zoom to discuss being human by helping humanity. Executive Director and founder of Home and Street Kids Welfare Initiative and proprietor of the Oasis Academy, a special school for the street kids operating in Ilorin, Kwara State. Miss Funmi Omisope, it's good to have you on TV.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to start with a question. Why did you start this? 4,500 children, it's a lot of people to have reached out to. So why did you start this and how?
Okay, so growing up, I suffered rejection based on what my mom's friend said to me. I took it as my personality. She called me a name, actually, and it affected me all through my childhood for 11 years. So when I got to university, I finished from University of Ibadan, and there were a lot of children begging at our campus gate. So seeing them and seeing the way people treat them when they beg for money, I could see myself in them, and that is where the drive came from. And September 9 makes it 17 years that I've been doing this, and that is why the number is that much.
Interesting. This is rather interesting. This is one of the classic cases where you've taken a negative and turned it out to a positive. So many of us don't have excuses why we do not do good things that we should do. So I'm going to ask this question next. Typically, charity and this kind of humanitarian work is left for millionaires and billionaires. Do you have some form of hidden inheritance that we don't know anything about?
Not at all. It's purely my passion that drives me. In our school presently, we have like 52 children enrolled there, and we keep moving a day at a time because we can't turn the children down. We can't tell them to go, there's no money, to take care of them. We just have to keep doing it, and it's been working a day at a time, and we've been making it. We've been doing it.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I'm going to take it a little further now. Everybody needs help one way or the other. Why don't we start with our families, our relatives? Why do we have to go out to street kids, the strangers, people we don't know?
Okay, so when it comes to this, people get to ask me this kind of question a lot because we have children from different backgrounds and nationalities. We have Yoruba, we have outside, we have children from the Republic, from Chad, from Mali. So far, they are children begging in the street. My own belief is this. It's not just about the immediate family. Now, in the north, they use children. They recruit them for Boko Haram and all of that. And these little ones that are begging in our streets, they don't know. They are just victims of circumstances. And if they should get into wrong hands, it won't be good for all of us. So if we keep doing me and my family, if these children should get into wrong hands, they're going to scatter things for me and my family. So if I could do something about them, why can't I do it? So it's beyond the religion, the background, the state, or whatever. It's about humanity. Are they sick? Then can I help? Then I roll my sleeves and get to work. That's it.
That's very interesting. So what I'm wondering now, listening to you talk about, don't you feel what everybody feels in the society? Economy gets difficult, things get hard. That should push me to think more about myself in times like this, which leads me to the question, what effects does this have on the society? Our going out there to help other people, to support other people, what effect does it have?
Yeah, I think when we see people in worse condition than we are, then we know we're privileged. Sincerely, we know we're privileged. Now, I'm taking care of my own numbers. If everybody is doing just a little in their corner, beyond their immediate family, I believe we're going to have a better Nigeria and better Africa. Last year, January, February, I was in Burundi, then Kenya, and I realized there is a same thing everywhere. But then we can't keep folding our hands and keep pointing our fingers to the government. I believe if we could do something, why can't we? Most of us we pack food away in our houses, and if we can take 3 children and give this food to them, they will be happy for the day. So I want to believe we all have the capacity. Our situation is not that world. When you look around you, when we see people that our situation is heaven to them, they could only imagine what we call problem as their own solution. So that is it. If all of us should get, roll our sleeves and get to work, I believe we'll get to have a better society for me.
All right, quite interesting. I'm going to push further on this a little bit. One of the angles you chose to work on was the angle of education, making sure these kids have better education. Why did you choose education, and why should we bother about education for the street kids?
Okay, so when it comes to education, before we used to say 10.5 million out of 6 children in Nigeria, but recently it got to 18.5, and I was made to understand that early this year, it's close to 20 million out of 6 children. That is dangerous for our nation. Now, in Ilorin alone, we have 84,247 out of 2 children. Now, these are the children that are not liberated. Their mind is not liberated, meaning they could be used as tools against us. So education I believe, is the ticket out of poverty. Mm-hmm. Like I always say, the first level of transformation is school uniform. When they average that 20% into transformation journey, and I believe when the mind is transformed, you can hardly put such a person that knows the right and the wrong to do evil, because they have desire, they have dreams, they have what they want to become. I remember when we first recruited the first set in Kwara, that was in 2014, and I was asking them, what do you want to become when you grow up? Some were saying they want to be a copper, because they've been seeing NYSC, corps members, and they told them, if you go to school, that is when you're going to become that. And now that, the girl was in nursery 1, and she believed, okay, now this is my journey of becoming a copper. You understand? So I believe education will do a whole lot. Education opens doors for us. Fine, education alone does not guarantee good life. You have to go learn more. But it will open the door for you. It will open your mind, and we could see the transformation already. So education is key in transforming the state. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely correct. If we're going to have conversations with people and people groups to be able to change and move society forward, they have to be able to clearly understand the concept which we talk about and the effect of their actions on the larger society. So education is key. But it brings me to another question. Why should we invest time and money on street kids when it may seem from one perspective that maybe we should invest in that time on money on those who are upwardly mobile, the entrepreneurs, the businessmen, the middle class people of the society? Why should we go to the streets to these people and equip them with education when somebody could argue that the funds and the time will be better off improving a different sets people group?
Yes, I believe something that when there's an issue in the society, we have to look at those at the bottom level first. When we clean it up, it makes the job better. Now, I know that people have encountered some professional beggars, of which makes them to feel all beggars are professional. Now, when I say professional beggars, I mean people that beg as professionals. They beg to build houses, they beg to buy houses, and they look at every average beggar like, oh, this man might have 3 or 4 houses and all of that. But then I've met some sincere beggars that they don't come out, they don't eat. Now, there might be professional beggars, but when you look at every system, they are victims of either the selfishness of their parents or the circumstances of their parents. I want us, if we are going to be selfish, then we think of, oh, why can't we focus on something else? But when we allow humanity to really work through us, then we realize that these children did not choose their background. Then we try to look at them with the lens of our own children as well. Then we put ourselves in their shoes. What if I'm the one that find myself in this kind of background? What will be my future? Will I be where I am now? So I want to believe extending our hands to them is not a misplaced priority. It's actually a good thing to do. Because why? Somebody opened the door for us at one time or the other to get to where we are. So why can't we open the door for the people coming behind us? Most especially the kids children.
Very interesting. I'm going to ask a question from something you said. You mentioned, talked about these kids and their families, abandoning them and them having difficult situations. But what happened to our family value system and the extended family system that we're so known for in Nigeria here and in Africa?
Yeah, I know when it comes to Africa, there's this communal thing that we look after each other and all of that. But I believe, now things are becoming more, people are becoming more selfish. And I think it's because of the lack of resources, actually. I can't really blame it on people that everybody has to cut their own thing, based on their family. And then there's no access to give to the neighbors or to give to extended family. Then they find themselves on the street. But then I believe street begging is a mind thing, because I know some people that are visually impaired and the man said he's not going to bed. I can't imagine himself stretching his hands to another human being to bed. So street begging, there are some other things they could do to get them money, and that is part of what we talk to them about. Street begging should not be an option. You can't say because you don't get help from your extended family and all of that, and you turn to the street, it's too bad. Like, it shouldn't be. But then when they find themselves there, we need to talk to them, help them out, then talk to them in order to transform their minds that the streets don't own them, and they should be able to do something better by giving them a capital, not just counsel, setting them up to do something better. So I believe it's, the shortage of resources and stuff like that.
All right, so how's been your experience? What's been your experience in helping the street kids and other children and less privileged people, helping them get a quality education and so that they can have better skills and better opportunities for themselves? What has been your experience like?
Okay, so in 2014, I founded the school, but along the line, I realized that some parents come to the school and say they want to withdraw their child to go beg because there's nothing to eat at home. So I realized that I was focusing too much on the children, and in 2017, I decided to dissolve the school. I put the children up in regular school so that I could, push back and really think. And thankfully, I got a scholarship with CDC, Enterprise Development Center at Pan Atlantic University, Lagos Business School. And, it was a good time for me to really evaluate all our programs today and everything. Then in the regular school, we kept on, following them up and all of that. But we realized most of the children couldn't stay in regular schools because some of them will have to take their parents to the study to a particular junction to beg before going to school. Not that they don't want to get to school, but they have to talk to their parents first. Now, when they get to school and they get there late, they beat them or they tell them to go back home. Now, a child that was on the streets before. So this year, April 12th, that's International Day of the Street Children, we decided to start it again and we made it bigger. So it's a full-fledged school for them. So all our programs is tailored to make education interesting. And the numbers, we have to turn some people down that we're not enrolling again until January. Because we realize that it's not that they don't want to learn, but they want to, they have their own attitude. They can't cope in a regular school. Sometimes they come to school very early and they forget to shower before coming. So we condone all that. We have the school where they go and take their bath. And we realize that all they need is just that opportunity. And the rate at which they're learning is amazing. It's amazing. Like, we couldn't believe it ourselves.
Wow, it's the stories just make you want to stop and empty your wallet and just go out there and I actually hug someone, one of the kids. It's just amazing. I'm going to ask, just because we're really out of time, so I'm going to ask you, if you were going to talk to parents, if you were going to talk to society, what would you say they should do in your last word? What would be your advice to us they should do? On one hand, if you could add, if you have the time, quickly add the issue of laws that force and make it mandatory for parents to send their kids to school, their words to school, to ensure that these kids don't end up in the street begging, and enforcement of those laws. Are those laws helpful? And then after that, you can answer the first question.
Okay, so the first one, which is the law that says every parent will enroll their children in school, I think is the best thing. No parent has an excuse not to put their children in school because their children is actually their future. when they become old, the children will be the ones that will be in position to take care of them. So every parent should do that. And what I see in our society most of the time is too busy parents. We go to juvenile homes, every Saturday, and you see failed parenting, being the result of what brought the children to the prison. And I believe parents need to stand up to their game and make sure they make their children their focus. And secondly, which is my what to the parents, I think, or to society, I would say that it doesn't cost much to sponsor a child. You can put a child up in regular school and just monitor and maybe get a tutorial teacher, to be teaching the child after the school. But let us go beyond our normal small circle of immediate family and extend our hands of charity to that child on our street or that children we always see on our way to work. Let's do more. Let's take it beyond our immediate family. Let's sow the seed of charity. It doesn't cost us much.
Funmi, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Your insights and on-hand experience have been amazing. We wish you well. Would like to see and hear more from what you do and encourage other people to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. All right, moving on from that, the world was shocked. In fact, it was the biggest headline this week all around the world. It was just 44 days in office, and we're all asking who, how, why. If you've been asking like I've been asking, Felix Ngoma has this special report to answer some of the burning questions.
Elizabeth Truss has become the shortest-serving Prime Minister in British history. Ms. Truss, who assumed office on the 6th of September 2022, became the 56th Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and the 4th new Prime Minister in 6 years. Elizabeth Truss came into office after the resignation of Boris Johnson and amidst worsening economic crisis, energy shortage and stressed healthcare system. Britain is experiencing her worst annual inflation for 4 decades, where cost of gas is soaring, which has been blamed on Putin's war with Ukraine. The global energy crisis has affected cost of living as well as prices of products in the markets. The 47-year-old conservative leader, in her acceptance speech, had promised drastic economic reforms in 3 areas of energy, economy and national health scheme.
We now face severe global headwinds caused by Russia's appalling war in Ukraine and the aftermath of COVID. Now is the time to tackle the issues that are holding Britain back. We need to build roads, homes and broadband faster. We need more investment and great jobs in every town and city across our country. We need to reduce the burden on families and help people get on in life. I know that we have what it takes to tackle those challenges. Of course, it won't be easy, but we can do it. We will transform Britain into an aspiration nation with high-paying jobs, safe streets, and where everyone everywhere has the opportunities they deserve. I will take action this day and action every day to make it happen.
She had also hoped to strengthen border security as a means of curbing illegal migration amongst others. In what came as a surprise to global watchers, in just 45 days in office, Elizabeth Truss announced her resignation as UK Prime Minister after her economic reforms triggered unrest among the UK populace and backlash from her fellow MPs.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Before her resignation, some of her cabinet appointees had resigned, especially Kwasi Kwarteng, the UK Chancellor, who was responsible for introducing the £45 billion British pound tax cut that led to her resignation as UK Prime Minister. Truss's resignation is among the consequences of the energy crisis from the Russian-Ukraine war that has exacerbated cost of living in Europe and the rest of the world.
No small matter, no joking matter at all. The British Prime Minister resigned from office because she said she could no longer deliver on the mandate. This is a big message resounding all across the world and especially here at home on the African continent. African leaders need to take note. If you find yourself in office and those who are aspiring now to get into office and you cannot perform on the mandate of the people that you promised to give, don't stay there giving excuses and blaming people. Put in your pen, resign, and let somebody else who can lift the people up do the job. Now we move on from British politics to African Fashion Week that held this week in London, and we bring you some of the dazzling sights.